What's up, y'all? You are watching the Lorraine Lindsay podcast, watching another episode of the show, The Mindsetters, where we believe that if you change your mind, you have the power to change your life. And today we are going to be talking about the mindset of insecurities. But before I introduce my very special guests, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you like the show. Leave your comments. And if you want topics for us to talk about, tell us what those topics are. We love to hear from you all. So without further ado, hello, ladies.
Hey.
Hey. So I am so excited today because we have some special guests. Carmen and I, my co-host, did a topics party recently, and we had some amazing women. Actually, we met these women through one of the ladies that's here tonight, or her special event that she did. And it was just really cool to meet all these really amazing women who are really doing things. And we talked about insecurities. And so before we get into that, I want to first introduce the guest. So let's start with Miss Shannon Miller. Hey, Shannon.
Hello.
What's
How are you?
So a little bit about Shannon. Shannon Miller is a financial representative focused on the overall well-being of individuals and business owners' financial futures. She not only supports in financial sectors, but also runs her own consulting business. This is a business where she's developed this business from her own extensive knowledge of running and operating her own businesses, specifically in health and wellness. She has a passion for supporting, guiding, and teaching entrepreneurs the skill steps into the next chapter of their business. Her focus is on outlining their vision, creating action steps, teaching marketing skills, how to build their brand, and giving personal support all along the way. Shannon, as much as she's doing, is also a single mother of two beautiful boys, which play a big role in her why. She's a firm believer that anyone is capable, but we aren't always self-made. It takes special people along our journey to support and guide us, which can get us to take us there to apply our life. So, Shannon, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
And I love that saying, though. That's good. She's a firm, and I kind of flubbed it, but she's a firm believer that anyone is capable, but we aren't self-made. That's deep, and I want to get into that, okay? Next, we have Miss Nicole Maldonado. Hello, Nicole.
Hello.
Nicole is a owner and creator of Be Sugared. She actually has two locations. This is an entrepreneur for real. In Summerlin, and her other location is in the southwest side of Las Vegas. Nicole's passion for the industry is to make women feel beautiful in the most pain-free, natural way possible. She loves that her clients trust her with their skin in the most intimate areas of their body. She has paired her creative touch with innovative ways to effectively give her clients a memorable experience that is safe and naturalistic way to approach stick waxing. So when we'll get into that, I want you to share. Absolutely. Nicole is a young woman, entrepreneur, and a dedicated mother. So thank you, ladies, both for being on the show. Really appreciate it. And by the way, I'm really looking forward to me being sugared myself.
Oh,
I'm a little nervous.
Very good.
I'm not gonna lie.
Very good.
I'm excited. I know I'm in good hands. Yeah. So, ladies, let's go right into it. Okay. So I talked about this. Oh, and before, Carmen, I have to introduce my beautiful co-host.
Okay.
I'm so used to you being here. So, of course, let's throw Carmen's beautiful picture up there. Carmen is my wonderful co-host. She is a realtor here in the Las Vegas Valley with Signature Realty. She is all about helping people get their dream home. She believes that home ownership is an avenue to wealth, correct?
Correct.
And if you are looking to list your home, sell your home, definitely get in touch with Miss Carmen Smith. Thank you. All right, so without further ado, let's just get into it. All right, so ladies, I'm going to say this because this is just bottom line. Here's what people are thinking. We're going to talk about insecurities. This is the topic of today's show. But when they look at the panel of these beautiful women sitting here, entrepreneurs doing their thing, consulting in businesses, opening up more than one location, real estate, all these different things, and then we're all seemingly well put together, we're taking care of our children, they're going to say, okay, really, what do these women really, truly have to be insecure about? Like, come on. Right?
Yep.
But
100%.
there's such a misconception with women, especially if we're trying to maintain our beauty and look good on the forefront, be mothers and take care of our children, be entrepreneurs, have businesses, have work. There's this misconception that we're not insecure about things. So I kind of want to share a little bit, be a little vulnerable myself, and share a little bit about what some of my insecurities are. And then I'm going to kind of like dig deep into you ladies to share your insecurities and actually how you overcome them, right? So for me, I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that my biggest insecurities come from my fears. So I have a huge fear of rejection. It's a big problem that I deal with. And I also have a big fear of my own success. So a lot of times people will see me doing a lot of different things like, oh, Lorraine's doing this and Lorraine's doing that. But I never, ever allow myself to really just focus on one thing to really let that go to the next level. And all of those fears that I have is the insecurity of not being enough. And I have really, really struggled with that for a really long time, especially now because I'm somewhat empty nesting. My son left and he's on his own. And so a lot of my compelling why, like what your compelling why was for my son. I was always driven for him. And the insecurity I have now, especially because at the same time that my son is gone, that I'm getting out of a very long relationship where I kind of had the security of the support from that person. And now that's gone as well. So it's that insecurity of like, what do I do? How do I figure out my life? Is this really what I want to do? Is this my purpose? And even doing podcast shows and doing my coaching, it took a lot of like me trying to get over a lot of hurdles, my own fears and not being enough and thinking people are going to laugh at me or think it's a joke, to really just kind of push myself to be uncomfortable in my own insecurities. So I'm going to start with you, Shannon.
Oh, okay.
She's
let's
like,
do it.
yes, girl.
Done.
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about you?
Oh, I think it's that I was born with confidence. That's just easy, right? You know, going and public speaking or going online and branding myself and marketing and videos or, you know, whatever that is, that it's easy for me. And it's actually has been the complete opposite. I mean, I spent most of my life completely hating the way that I looked physically. Didn't believe that I was beautiful. Also didn't think that I was told a long time ago I was too much. You're too much, Shan. Just tone it down. Just bring it down. And so I did. And there was always this insecurity that I'm too much. I just didn't know how to handle that because society says that we're supposed to be a certain way, right? And I was supposed to fit the mold of what my little sector of society looked like. And so I would say it most certainly has been a confidence thing, and that, you know, I was in bodybuilding for years. I'm building a business. I take care of myself, but it's, oh, you know, she's comfortable in her body and she has confidence. No, 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 no. I was the woman that if I sat down at a restaurant and there was cockroaches in my food, I would have been like, shh, 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 just leave it. Just leave it. We'll pay the bill and I'll go and I won't eat it. That's it.
So somewhere along that insecurity, then in a way, if you were given that mantra to just take it down a notch, it was almost like dimming your light.
Oh, 100%.
So then in many ways, your voice was taken from you.
Yeah, in a massive way. And so and I think regardless, it's hard as females as we come up. We're told we're supposed to be so many things, but you're supposed to look a certain way and you're supposed to be a certain kind of mother and you're supposed to do certain things in business. And you lose yourself in that. And I didn't have a sense of self because the few times that I was, especially as I would say in my early 20s, trying to express who I was that. So I just toned myself down. And then with motherhood and business and all that, I literally did not have a sense of who I was in any way, shape, or form.
So you lost your identity.
Yeah.
So I before we go on to that, because I do want this first part to be kind of like what those things were, but I know people need to know for their own selves, because I think a lot of people can identify with that and losing their voice in themselves. Because that's the thing with us as women is that, and this is not a bash on men by no means, because we all know some great men.
Oh yeah.
You know, a lot of guys are like, so you ever have guys on the show? It's like later, but you know, the reality is that there are a lot of hats that we have to wear. Yep. You know, and there's a lot of pressure, especially now, the modern woman, so to speak. There's a lot of pressure to be so many different things. And I think that quite often you can get very lost. You can lose your identity in that of like, well, who am I? Yes, I'm the mother, or I'm the wife, or I'm the single mom, or I'm the business person, or I'm the one that has to go to work every day, or whatever it may be. And then just forgetting like to check your pulse and say, but who am I? Yeah. Who am I? And how do I show up in this world, you know, for me? So what about you? What would you say, Nicole, would be a misconception or a big insecurity of yours that people would be surprised to know?
Man, probably that things kind of came easy to me, that I had family and friends to help me and support me along the way, and really they don't know too much of the backstory I mean, when I left home originally to just start my beauty career, my family bribed me to stay home. And I was like, what? You guys don't think I could do this?
Why
Like,
did they want you to stay home?
They wanted me to take the safe way. They wanted me to do the 9 to 5, get salary. And that's what they wanted. They wanted me to make sure that I was going to be financially stable. And I never was going to do a 9 to 5. I already knew from the very beginning, I'll always work for myself. It's what I wanted to do. And so I left. I was like, you know what? It just lit a fire under my butt. And I was ready to go. But I went straight to LA. I started a beauty career in LA. And I got there and it hit me in the face. I was like, these are some of the most beautiful people in the world. What am I doing here? Like, what do I have? What makes me different? What makes me better? I'm definitely not one of the most beautiful women in the whole world. So how can I offer my beauty services, advice, expertise to these women? And that for me scared the hell out of me. It really
Was there
did.
ever a time that you wanted to just quit?
No. Did I close my door and cry my eyes out and think I made the biggest mistake of my life? Did I want to call my family and say, okay, what do I do? Absolutely. Did I do it? No, never. Like I never actually believed that I was going to go home and do the 9 to 5. But I was definitely, I was scared a lot. But
I love that.
yeah.
Not that I love that you were scared, but I love the tenacity
Yeah.
of just saying to yourself, like, here's my options, right? It's almost like you have to face your fear and saying, I'm not going back. I have to cry. I'll have to suffer. I have to do whatever I have. But you were really clear on your vision. And like I said, in a little bit, I want you to get into how you got that clarity, because your tenacity, when you work for something and you don't give up on that thing, it's because your why is very compelling.
Yeah.
And it's really what will motivate you to just push forward. And I think a lot of people who have dreams and purposes for their lives, things that they want to do, they don't necessarily know how to tap into that why that's compelling enough for them to get past a certain point. So I kind of want to talk about that too, because I don't want to just talk about insecurities. I want to talk about solutions to those insecurities and overcoming. So Miss Carmen, what would you say is a misconception with you? Because you have and I know you very well. Mm-hmm. You have a very strong, but it's kind of like a silent but deadly kind of strength behind you, that it seems like you're untouchable at times, like nothing phases you. But what would you say is the biggest insecurities that you have or misconceptions that people have of you?
Thank you for saying that.
Well, it's true.
So one of my biggest insecurities is that the need, like, I don't know if it's a need, but never feeling like I fit in. So I know as a child, like being mixed, my dad's side is Latin. My mom is Black and Cuban. I look more Latin, but I feel more Black, if that makes any sense. So I never felt like I fit in with either side of my family. So doing hair, I've done hair for 22 years. I'm semi-retired. I work 1 day a week now, but I do black hair. So I don't look like a Black stylist, but I do black hair. And you know, clients would be like, you sure you could press my hair? I'm like, yeah, I could press your hair, you know? And I never let it stop me. You know, it's just like, well, if you want to go somewhere else, go somewhere else. You know, I got this. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. But it would make me feel bad a little bit, you know, and it goes back to like not fitting in. But in the real estate world, I started real estate in 2014. I've always worked in a beauty salon. I never worked for anybody. I've always worked for myself. And I worked with the same group of women for like 17 years. So we're like a family. I never had any drama at work. Everybody's for everyone. And that dog-eat-dog world of real estate, I did not feel like I fit in. And I was intimidated by it. And I'm going to say to you, Lorraine.
Yes. Uh-oh, am I in trouble?
No,
Okay.
No. I never felt like I wanted to go to like events, or it's like, I got this. And that's when you say that strength, like I'm untouchable. It's like I've created that.
But in a way, it's like what you create, not to cut you off, but it's like you create that. Sometimes we use our insecurities
Right.
and we make them as false senses of security. And they're really insecurities, and we create these suit of armors or these personality traits that we think are benefiting us. and yet they're secretly sabotaging our life because then we
Right.
really don't get to that peak of that potential,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So I want you to continue.
So in this real estate world, you know, a lot of men, I never worked with men. I didn't understand how people could be so mean. You know, it's like all about me, you know? So it's like trying to build that tough skin. It's like, I don't even feel like being bothered with these people. I'm just going to work from home, do me. I got this. And I've been okay being mediocre, you know? And now
Right.
it's like, okay, I need to elevate. I need to shake this insecurity that I have. And when I say thank you, it's like, you're like, girl, we need to go to this. We need to go to that. We need to go to this. Like, I would have never went to a networking event. I'd have been like, for what? I don't care about meeting new girls. Who cares? You know, like that. So that's been my struggle. But I'm happy that I'm realizing it, and I have realized it, and that I'm working through it. And that I can even admit publicly that that's my insecurity, because I've never spoke about it.
Interesting. So thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to circle back because as everyone talks, I'm always like taking notes because little things will come to my head. So Shannon, let's go back over to you.
Mhm.
So one of the things that you said was that you were your voice was kind of silenced, right? It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
What was a turning point for you, would you say, in that insecurity where you were like, no more, I want my voice back? Because I feel like you have it.
Oh, yeah.
So what was a turning
Oh, I
point?
do have a voice now. Watch out.
I love it, though. I
Watch
love
out.
it.
It's like fiery. It wasn't just one thing. And I think that is a common misconception. It's, oh, you think one day you turn around and, oh, you know what? I figured it out. Off I go. Now I got all the strength in the world. It doesn't work that way. I mean, for me, it got to the point where I actually physically made myself small. So it wasn't just my voice. I mirrored it also in my body.
Wow.
I was, 98 pounds as a mother of 2 at one point.
Wow.
Like eating disorders, the whole thing, because I didn't bring my light down. I actually got small physically alongside it.
Wow. That's profound.
And figuring it out was profound.
You know, and I don't mean to interrupt because I think that's so deep. And I think that that's something that people need to hear. That sometimes it isn't just something we manifest or that we feel in our mind, in our spirit, but we can physically become something as well.
Yeah.
And anyways, I think that's just really profound what you said, and that's deep. And I think sometimes when people are struggling with eating disorders or being overweight or other physical things, and they're looking, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and sometimes it's to tap into that belief system that is contributing to the
Right.
problem. So I didn't want to interrupt, but I just felt like that was a really key
Yeah.
what you said. But continue, please.
Yeah, no, and it was, for me, it played throughout most of my life, right? Having eating disorders and then being told you're too much, bring it down. And then I think also that box, like Nicole talked about, the family saying, you're supposed to be this person, work the 9 to 5. And you're like, but I don't want to. It feels like my soul is going to die,
Right.
It's soul crushing. And so I just made myself small. And I don't believe that there's one pivotal thing in our lives that changes everything. It just isn't. It's, I think, a series of events, and it's a series of choices, and it's a series of people. I talk about never being self-made. I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have a team of people to go, hey, Shan, that's not
Right.
that's not reality. Why don't we check the stories that you're telling yourself? And also those people, I at one point had mentors in business that I was about to go speak at an event, and I was terrified. And when I say terrified, I mean pee my pants, hands shaking. I don't know what I'm going to do right now.
Well, because you had to use your voice.
I had to use my voice.
Right.
And I had to stand in front of everybody. I was terrified. And I tried to back out that moment. I'm going to have so-and-so introduce the room. All I had to do was say hello. Silence your phones, people. That was it. And I tried to back out. And I remember my partner right before he walks up and he goes, let me ask you a question. If this will earn you $1 million, will you do it? And I go, yes. Okay. And I went up there and I stood in front of this room with this little microphone, terrified. And I got about a sentence in, I stopped and I go, I'm sorry, you guys, I'm just really nervous. And then I kept going. And it almost released the shackles for me. And I think if we
interesting.
go through those periods where we recognize the things that hold us back, the fears we have, the insecurities, and we're willing to just speak it out, it releases the shackles and it releases that place that holds us back.
That's beautifully said. Absolutely. Right? And I think that that's the problem that a lot of people face is that, number one, we often, when we are in our problems or in our insecurities, we make the assumption that we're the only ones.
Right.
And often if we're just vulnerable enough to share, and it doesn't mean that everyone's privy to your vulnerabilities. I think you have to be particular about who you share vulnerabilities with. But when you do share, to your point, it's like it's liberating.
Yeah.
Because then you get grace from some people. Then you get some people to say, oh my gosh, you too, me too. And you can get this camaraderie enough to help to build each other up on the next level. And sometimes people just need to know they're not the only one. It's like that thing in the classroom, you know, whenever the teacher asks the question and everybody knows the answer. And finally that one kid shoots their hand up. It can be liberating. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful in the topics party. One of the girls, she came with you guys, and she was like, she shared her insecurity, and it was, you know, even just sitting in the room amongst other women, like, was intimidating to her. And I just thought that was so beautiful that she was able to share that, because I'm like, who would be intimidated by me? Like, you know, but if I'm sitting up there, like sitting here now, I'm sure somebody would be intimidated by
Right.
me, but they don't even realize I struggle the same thing.
Well, what's interesting too is if you look at it, she has that insecurity, and us as women, we look at her. She's owns a beautiful business. She
Right.
works really
and she's
hard,
beautiful.
Right.
and she's beautiful, and she has this amazing voice. But on top of that, she has that insecurity, but she's also willing to show up. I mean, she shows up to our events
Yeah.
with other women. She knows nobody. And I think that is a defining difference. It's
Mhm.
releasing yourself, being willing to be vulnerable, and then throw yourself into the fire, throw yourself in the fear,
Right.
because you'll grow
Yeah.
from it.
And that's kind of what we want to get into next. But so I'm going to start with you on that, because when we were just talking about your thing, and you're like, I said, did you ever want to go back? And you were like, no. What was so compelling for you? What was your compelling why that you were going to succeed?
Originally, it was just to prove people wrong, let them know that I can do it. Tell me no, I promise you I'll do it. But then later on, I had my son, and that was 100% it. I knew that I had to be a strong mother, someone that he can look up to and be like, okay, she's mom, dad, she's my coach, she's my friend, she can be my teacher, and she can hold it down in the house. Like, I don't have to really worry about anything. And that was very important for me, that he saw a very strong woman, because I really didn't get to see that, unfortunately. And I think that's important. It's necessary.
Yeah, that's it's crazy when we sacrifice ourselves, you know, when the compelling why is bigger than ourselves.
Yep.
And I feel like that's always the key for anybody out there. It doesn't necessarily mean that for those that, you know, don't have children, or for me, for example, I can put that hat up now. I look at my son and I'm like, I did that, and that's good. And I don't have to worry. And the struggle that I find with my own insecurities, like I said earlier, is like, what can be as compelling as that? And it's hard. I'm lost trying to figure it out. And that makes me feel insecure, you know, but asking myself the question, how do I make myself compelling enough and pour into myself with that same grit and grind, you know? And I think that that's the key always for us to overcome any insecurity, is everyone has something that they have inside of them that they feel is their purpose to do. And that is not static. That can change from time to time. But knowing that if it's in you to do it, let that why be big enough, bigger than you. Make it grand. And I don't mean in a grandiose, like you have to go, you know, save the world or become an astronaut and go, you know, discover new planets. But it could just be something as simple as, you know, getting healthy and saying, you know what, my health and loving myself and having happiness for my life is compelling enough for me to make that the decision for my life. So I want to ask, one of the things that is kind of a common thread is who we surround ourselves with, your tribe. And so this is why I love what you're saying. Is I'm going to read it again because I flubbed it earlier and I flubbed it the second time too. But I love what you said. Shannon said she's a firm believer that anyone is capable, but we also aren't self-made. It takes special people along our journey to support and guide, which we then get to apply to our lives.
Right.
So why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because let me just tell you, I believe that so wholeheartedly. that my tribe has been really, truly the ones that leveled me up. They've also been the ones that have pulled me down. And there's also been the tribe that has kept me right where I'm at.
Yep.
So clarify what you mean by that, please.
So I think that everybody that we encounter has an effect on our life, right? And people come for seasons and reasons. And we get to choose whether or not we take, I don't believe knowledge is power. I think applied knowledge is power. And people's experiences and their expertise or their mentorship, their friendship, whatever that is, we can take those lessons and apply it to our life, right? It's like watching your older brother. It's like my
Right.
boys, right? Well, you just saw what your brother did. You know the outcome. You know, what are you going to choose to do? And I think we get to do the same thing. And I think that that is also part of what has helped with insecurities for me. I mean, even as a kid, I had a therapist. Yeah, I had an eating disorder. Of course I had a therapist. But I could have chosen not to take the knowledge and apply it though. And she was amazing. She's somebody I look up to. I've gone through transformative training. I've had mentors in business. That's why Nicole and I even started our Together events. The reason we did that was to say, and her and I have had the same experience. We hear all the time, especially in Las Vegas, we hear it's really hard to meet good people out here. I'm like, really? Because I know so many good people.
Right.
What if we created a space to bring all of those people together so they can have the experience that we're having, because we choose not to have mediocrity in our life.
Right.
We show up every day and we work our butts off, and I can speak for myself. I'm impact driven. I want to make a difference in the world.
Right,
I
right.
want somebody to turn around and say, you made an impact in my life in a positive way. I can't do that if I am not very clear on who gets to sit at my table. And I mean that in the most loving way, but let's be real.
Right.
Because there are those that will pull you down or keep you stuck.
Right.
And so it's just being really clear. And it's hard to clean house sometimes. I've done it and it's hard.
It is so difficult. I have recently
Terrible.
done
Clean
some,
house, honey.
I have cleaned house recently.
Me
And when
too.
I say clean, it's like a vacant property. It's crazy. But it's like it's sad and empty. And then you start to recheck and you're like, wait a minute, but I can go shopping and put new things in here.
Uh-huh.
Right. In a silly metaphor. But yes, 100%. And you hear people say all the time, you got to surround yourself with like minds. I'm all about like minds in one extent, but I need to be around people. And I think I've said this in another show, where my floor is their ceiling. Or my ceiling is their floor.
Right,
Like, it's
right.
like, what can I do for you? But what can you, it's always like, I love people who are with me and they're like willing to level up. And then I want to be around people who are leveling me up. But if we're all on the same floor and we're staying in the same floor,
No room for growth.
even if I think that I'm in a good space, there's always room to get to the next level.
Right.
And so I'm always mindful when they say, surround yourself with like minds. It's like, okay, but also check yourself at the door. Because if you're not where you want to be, then that theory of surrounding yourself with like minds, you might need to rethink that. But here's the challenge, and I want to hear what you ladies think with level up people, right? Is they will challenge you to your core, right? They will tell you things you don't want to hear. They will make you uncomfortable in your space. And so for those of you out there that are dealing with insecurities, and as we talk about the tribe, if you're around a person who really truly has good intentions in their heart for you and they just want to level you up, you got to stick with those people. You got to stick with your tribe. If it's uncomfortable. So has there ever been a situation for any of you ladies where you're around a person where they were probably an asset to your tribe, or maybe not so much? Like, how do you decipher? How do you know? Okay, that's probably a better question. How do you know if the people in your tribe, it's time to get rid of them or really hold on to them? How do you know?
I think once you start figuring yourself out and knowing who you are, those people just kind of look different. And maybe you're just more clear or open to hearing suggestion from other people. And it's like, once you change your mindset on certain things, you start noticing opportunities come in where maybe you might not have heard it before or seen it before because you just weren't mentally capable at that time. So I think organically people just kind of like drift off. I don't know, like, because I'm not easy. It's not easy for me to just cut people off. Now it's getting a little more easier,
Yeah.
but
Because she's
If
got
they don't-
different tribal members, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yep.
off with their head.
Yep.
They're out.
Out.
I'm like, girl, out. Next, move on.
I'm like,
do the same
gosh,
thing.
what do we have to be so mean about it though?
That's
Can we
what she's like. Yeah.
Can I just
do it
leave
with
it on? Can I
grace?
just leave the text message on red and not respond ever again?
I'm
Or
always
like-
telling her, like, we sometimes we have to be firm
Uh-huh.
with our boundaries with people, especially as we're transitioning
Yeah.
and growing, because it's hard enough when we are shifting in our lives, or we're trying to make changes, or we're running businesses, or we're doing this, and we're very clear on what we want. Like you said, I want to make an impact on people's lives. But if we're spending our time with people who want to minimize us, who want to pull us down, you and I talk personally about our own personal relationships where we experience having someone in your life that you feel is like your biggest supporter, and yet they're the ones that's really destroying you from the inside out. I was going to ask a question. I forgot what the question is, but someone jump in here while I'm thinking.
I've been in many situations with different girlfriends that I think that have my back and they're right there for me, but truly, that's not the case. And then I meet people, like Shannon, of course, who is like, okay, girl, like, let's think about this. Like, let's put everything into perspective, what it is that we're talking about. And she tends to push me, and it, like you said, it gets uncomfortable. I mean, even just talking at our events,
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't wanna. She's like, well, here's the thing, you have to. I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
I think it's get to is what I say.
gotta say to her,
It's
yeah.
get to.
You
You gotta
get
say to her,
to.
if you want $1 million, would you say this?
No, she
Right
does.
back
She
at you.
throws it, and
That's
I do. And not only that, but I respect her and love her so much. And even when I talk about her at our events, it's important for me to try to let people know why she's so incredible and why she's so amazing. I am the one who gets to tell all these people about her. So again, I think, like you said, like when something is not about you and it's about someone else, it pushes you and it drives you. And it's not necessarily about like, oh, me, but it's about letting everyone know about my girlfriend and how amazing she is and my partner in crime. And then because of that, I'm
Mhm.
growing. And it just happens. Like you said too, Carmen, it just happens organically. And that's what I love. That's how you know those are your girls.
Right.
On my journey, I've noticed, especially recently, just the quality of people that's coming into my life and the challenges that I'm being faced with that are very uncomfortable for me. And I'm like, I got this. I could do it. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do it regardless. If I'm uncomfortable, if I fail at it, whatever, I'm going to get it done. But just, it's amazing. Just, I do a lot of self-reflection on myself and just seeing the difference of the quality of people and the opportunities that are coming my way. And I'm like, I've had opportunities before. I've had these things happen before, but I guess I just wasn't open enough to receive it.
Like I have to say, and as much as I think it does happen organically, I think a big part of that is when we're willing to release the ones that aren't, the value isn't there anymore.
Right.
Right. We're not lifting each other. We're not growing together. There's not a mutual value anymore. When we release that, I think that it's exactly what you're talking about. It opens up those doors for new relationships and new people that are in alignment with that next chapter or businesses, whatever it is. But I think most people stay stuck and you feel bad.
So it's so funny because that's exactly the word I just wrote down.
Stay stuck.
Okay, so we're all saying this, but we're there, right? We've already had those reflections. We already understand. We're already in that space. So if we were to scale it all the way back, because there's a lot of people who listen and say, okay, I get it. That's what they're doing. But, they have the friends, they have the tribe. I don't have anyone. I'm alone, or I don't feel like it, or I'm scared, or I don't want to be this and that. How does a person become unstuck?
Mhm.
Like, what do you ladies think? Because it is not easy to recognize self. If you have been beating your same drum to the beat of your music around the tribe that you've been beating that music to, there are times, we talked about this when we did the villains versus victims. The villain in the relationship doesn't see that they're the problem. And often when we're struggling in our lives, or we're stuck somewhere, or we're not doing what we want to be doing, it's because we don't, it's not clicking what it is that we're believing about ourselves that has us in this space. And then there are some people who have the fear of being alone. So it's like, you're telling me to get rid of my tribe and get rid of my people.
Yep.
And then what? And then who am I going to have? So what would you say and advise a person in a situation where they are literally stuck and they don't know how to get to where we were at now? So who wants to start with that?
I can only speak for me. I am my best friend. Nobody knows me better than me. I know when I'm messing up. I know when I did.
But you're over accountable too.
Well, maybe people should be more accountable.
Kidding. You know, I gotta bust your chops a little bit.
Whatever. No, I am very over accountable because it starts with me.
Right.
So if I'm better and I empower myself, everybody else around me can be better. So people have to stop lying to themselves.
Right.
Stop making excuses. Stop blaming people for their mishaps. Okay, you had a horrible childhood. So what? Get over it. Like, you have to get over shit. Period. And I mean, maybe I sound harsh. I know I can go there. But
yes.
you have to figure that how you do that for yourself. You first have to admit it, right?
Mhm.
You admit it. You had a eating disorder.
Yep.
If you never admitted it, you'd still have an eating disorder,
For sure.
right? And you took the steps necessary to stop the
Yeah.
eating disorder. You have to be honest with yourself of what your issues are.
I think that you're right. I mean, it sounds harsh, but it is the reality, right? It's like, yes, this happened to me. Yes, these things happen. Yes, yes, yes. And some people truly have had some really
Yes.
horrific things. And they do need to say, you know what? Yes, yes, yes. But now what? That's the next part.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you were going to say something, Shannon.
Oh, there's so much I want to say. You know, as much as I think that's an acquired skill. 100% accountability is an acquired skill.
Right.
We were not bred to do that. That's not how we were raised. We were raised to point our fingers at everybody else and why the kid next to us is the problem and your teacher's a jerk and your parents are assholes. Can I
Yeah,
curse?
yeah, you
'Cause
can
I'm
say,
a
yeah.
cursor. You guys.
Me too.
But I mean, that's how we were raised. And it is easier, right? Now, it's actually not easier, but in the long run, but it's easier to point your finger at somebody else. And so I think it's actually an acquired skill to learn 100% accountability, because when emotions run high and when the ego kicks in, it doesn't feel good necessarily.
Right.
And that first part to go, you know what though? I played a part in this. I chose those people, or I chose this path, or I chose to have this baby. I chose these things, so I get to own that. And okay, so what now? What, right?
Now what? Yeah.
So what now? What? But that's an acquired skill. It took me a long time to really get there. And now, when shit goes down, it feels good. It's again, like I said earlier,
because
releasing shackles.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
One of my biggest things was my ex-husband, right?
Mhm.
And the feeling of betrayal and the pain and the abuse and everything that went on in that relationship. And walking away feeling like lost and incomplete and being the victim. And in some extent I was, right? And why did he do this to me? And why didn't he see how much I loved him? And why wasn't I enough for him? Again, back to that enough, right? And then really having to sit down for a moment and saying, wow, he didn't betray me as much as I betrayed myself.
Right.
Because the reality is, this man always showed me who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted him to be something different for my life. And that pill that I had to swallow was a huge gut check, and it was painful. Yeah. But at the same time, it was releasing the shackles.
Right.
Because then I said, you mean to tell me that my life and the destination and where I'm at today is paved by my choices? So you mean I have a choice? And that was when the light bulb went off for me. You were going to say something, Nicole, to that.
It's just very similar about kind of being in like a situation and trying to remove yourself from it. And you realize, holy moly, how did I let someone do this to me or treat me this way or make me feel less than, or I couldn't do this without them. And then you sit back, and for me personally, I was terrified to be alone. And I think that's why I stayed for as long as I did. And sitting alone, and you said you're your best friend. Girl, I just learned that.
Me too. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted.
This is a new one.
Alone.
No, but that's
a
the deal, though.
ass feeling.
Yeah, I had the fear of being alone too. I was married. You know, me and my ex-husband were together from 18 to 36. So when I started dating, I didn't know how to date. I knew how to be a wife.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that's crazy. You know, that that's a whole different subject.
Well, but to that point, though, what you both said is very profound. You know, often people are afraid to be alone. That's a big
it's
thing, right?
huge.
Well, yeah.
And being alone, what does that really mean? It means you have to sit with yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And an idle mind can kill you.
Yeah.
It can literally consume you.
Yeah.
And it's really just being alone means you have to hear
Your
what's
thoughts.
really going on, right? So how did you ladies deal with finding your best friend in yourself?
I went through the motions personally.
Yeah.
After my divorce, I went through it. I went through men, crappy girlfriends, everything, anything, going out, drinking, anything to kind of not
the
have
void.
that idle mind, fill the void, do whatever I could. And then I realized I'm not happy.
Yep.
This is not making me happy. These people are not growing. Yes, I had my business. It was fine, but I was comfortable. I was not elevating myself. And I don't like feeling just comfortable and stagnant in business. So I knew I needed to change my mindset. I needed to change my group. And that had to start with me sitting at home, getting my butt home after work, showering, giving myself a facial, meditating, journaling. I have journals. I look and I read. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I wrote. I can't even read my
Yeah, you're like,
handwriting.
who was that
It was
person?
just word vomit all over the page. But
This is
It
okay.
did
This
it.
is the
Yeah.
stuff that I'm talking about. This is the crux.
yeah,
Like I
it's
said at the beginning
tough.
of the show, people see us women. They're doing it. She's doing a show. She's got her business. She's a business consultant. She's a realtor. These are like these power women. And now this is the reality, right?
Yeah.
That this is how we struggled. Like we didn't know who we were. We had to learn to be our own best friends while we kept up a facade,
Right.
right? It's like
While
like the
people are like-
racketeering days. You
Yeah,
had the
they're
storefront. There is a candy store, the tailor in the back. There's a whole racketeer going on.
Yeah.
All this mess in the back.
While
Right?
people on
Yeah.
social media are like, "Oh, girl, you're killing it. You're doing
Yep.
it." You
Oh my
and
God,
I'm like,
it's so easy
Huh?
for you.
Yeah, and you're like
"You're doing
yeah.
this. You're doing that. Oh my God, make it a great day."
I had a
I
guy-
have to tell myself to make it a great day. That's why I
Right.
say
Yeah.
make it a great day.
I love what you posted today.
Which one?
Where you were like, look,
Which one was it?
Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but she's like, look, I'm having an off freaking day. Okay,
Yeah,
like, let me just keep it real.
I think I actually said, I'm just being a bitch today. And then I joked about it later. I wasn't. But for me, I was off,
Yeah.
you know? And so it's just like, it's just owning it.
Yeah.
I'm just going
Right.
to own it because I look at percentages, right? I love numbers. I love it. But when you look at the numbers, I spend more time happy. And, you know, I think when you come down to it, the fear of being alone, the fear of, you know, being rejected or any of those things, it comes down to owning your own happiness.
Right.
Nobody
deep,
and
yes.
nothing can give you happiness. That is up to us. And it is a hard job. I think it's the hardest thing that we can do.
Right.
Because then you're not afraid to be alone.
Right.
And you are okay with cleaning out people that aren't good for your life.
Right.
And then you do find the partner that does, even in front, like I call Nicole my partner in crime. There's a reason that this happened. And that's because I choose my
I
own
love it.
happiness.
We're
to
like
shape.
besties
Aw,
on
we're
the
like-
thing.
I know.
But it's
I
no.
know.
But to your point, Shannon, like even Carmen, you know, we're both recently single, and
Recently,
I-
like the same day.
yeah,
We're all
practically,
super
right?
single, guys.
Right, we're super single. Okay, hello, hey. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey,
But,
girl.
but seriously though, for me, it was like, you know what? I came out of a very long relationship with someone I really loved and really cared about. And in one aspect of this person, they were a phenomenal person. So it was hard for me to leave that. But I had to make a choice that this looming thing, it was unacceptable for my life. I said, I have to choose me because I'm teaching this person to always show up that way. And it's inappropriate for me, for my life. And in that space of saying, okay, now my son's leaving and whatever, and me and her kind of talked, and we were like, you know what though? I'm not interested in going out there and meeting men and dating and all that stuff. I just kind of like the pause in my life right now because I'm trying to figure myself out. And to your point, Nicole, like I've been down that road where I was sabotaging and I was self-destructing and I was spiraling out of control in my life. I went through phases like that, and exactly I hit a wall and was like, I am not happy. And I refuse now that I'm older and wiser to, just because I'm not in that relationship anymore, just because my son went away, or just because I'm ready to transition out of my career, all these things at once I feel very unstable in. But it's like, but I can be still within myself so I can really hear what my heart needs me to know. And I'm like, and in the meantime, I'll just go on dates with you.
We have the best dates.
We hang out and I love hanging out with my friend.
Oh. Yeah.
But that's again, it goes back to the tribe thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that sometimes when we are going through what we're going through and struggling with it, just find your people.
Yeah. Find your people. Because, you know, and I'll make this brief, but, you know, when we've talked about my divorce, right? And, you know, when I say I walked away from everything, I mean, I moved out in secret. I just gave up my business. I started completely over with 2 little boys by myself. I was terrified. I was ostracized by an entire community of people that I loved on for years. And I knew there was this part in me, just like you, I was like, I get to make a choice, and I either live like this forever or I choose happiness for me and my children and for the other lives that I get to impact. And if I don't choose it, right, then even those other people, they don't get the benefit of it. And so I just chose to go, and I cleaned house. And I wouldn't have Nicole in my life. I wouldn't have all these. We wouldn't know you guys. None of this would be happening. My business wouldn't be where it's at. My kids are thriving. But I will tell you, it's one of the scariest things I have ever gone through in my entire life. But I was willing to be alone. I was willing to go completely fresh in every aspect of my life in order to obtain these kind of people in my life and this kind of experience.
The sacrifice.
Yeah.
The greatest love story. This is going to be something. This is going to roll.
Oh, here we go.
This is my biblical side, and I'm not trying to be religious, but the whole thing, like I always say this, the greatest love story of all time is the story of the Bible, right? Because Jesus, the ultimate thing was, and I'm not doing it to be religious, it was sacrifice.
Yeah.
The love story was sacrifice. And it's like, what are we willing to sacrifice for our self-love? You know, and it can literally feel like, at times, not as dramatic, of course, that you're crucifying. You're literally
That's what it feels like.
getting rid of you,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
right?
How would you know what love is without experiencing hate?
Yep.
How would you know happy if you're not sad?
Right,
Where there's no resistance, there's no growth.
right.
And so seeing the hard stuff that we go through in life, the resistance, that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the good stuff. And so it's changing the perspective around it, because none of us would be who we are if we didn't have resistance in our life.
So I like to do at the end of all the shows, because we're going to be closing. We could literally talk about this
Forever.
yeah. Just because, again, us ladies here, we're not speaking just because we're talking. We're talking because we've been through it and still go through it. There are days where I'm like charged and just ready for life, and I get up and I'm like ready to conquer the world. And there are other days where, I mean, this week for me, I needed a reset. I needed to just disappear. I'm like, the depression kicks in and things like that. And it's like, Lorraine, you got to fight. You have to fight. You have to push yourself. You have to. So we have those ups and downs. So the round robin, I would like to ask each and every one of you to go around and just tell the audience, what would you say to someone listening that relates to your story, Nicole? What would you tell him or her that they need to do to overcome that insecurity or that adversity for their life? What would you say?
Dig deep and find yourself. Believe in yourself. Like you said, find something that you can hold on to, that you can share with the world, that you truly love and believe in. And if it's something else, that's okay. But you also have to know who you are and truly believe in what's inside.
I love that. What about you, Shannon?
I would say reach out and reach up.
Ooh, I love that.
Find those people that are being and exuding the kind of life and human that you want to be and the experience that you want. And use that value, use that support, because, you know, like the whole not self-made thing, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it weren't for incredible humans in my life. So I'd say reach out, reach up.
Love that. What about you, Carmen?
One of the tools, something I read that really helps me is before you have an emotion, you have a thought. And I am and I say this all the time, intentional. When I have a feeling of anger or hurt or sadness, it's almost like a visual for me where I got to bring it back up to my head and process it. So I'm not a person who reacts quickly when there's adversity or there's a issue. I really process things because I want to know where I'm at in that. and how it makes me feel. And I give myself a lot of grace. I forgive myself, and I'm grateful even for bad situations. Like, I find some reason to be grateful, and I have so much peace inside of me right now that's my biggest success right now in life, is the peace that I have. And so I would just say that try to really control your emotions with your thoughts.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I would say that, often we are looking for our peace, our joy, our happiness externally, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a very specific thing that's going to make you happy, i.e. a relationship or being super fit or money. It's just being able to say, I'm clear that I want to be happy, and I'm believing that for my life. And sometimes that's just where you have to start. And you get up every day and you tell yourself that every day, I'm clear that I want to be happy, and I believe that is a possibility for my life. And then just let life give it to you, because it's there, right?
Yep.
So ladies, I thank you. I hope you guys will be willing to come back in the show. We're going to do a whole
Absolutely.
segment on business and the whole business stuff. And I want you ladies to really talk about your consulting, your business consulting, and your Be Sugared, which I will be sugared tomorrow.
She's gonna do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
So if you want to get in touch with Nicole, you can reach her at can you, if you don't mind, I'm sorry, can you put up her little picture again? Her beautiful picture, I should say. Oh, the girls are out.
My little sugar ball.
So if you want to get a hold of Nicole Maldonado, you can reach her on her Instagram at Be Sugared. Do you want to kind of plug maybe some other ways to contact you?
Our website, besugaredlasvegas.com. There's a contact me page on there, and you can send me a direct message that way.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
And Miss Shannon Miller.
Yeah.
Yes, Miss Business Consultant. And listen, if anyone out there is looking for some financial advice, contact her. Business, personal, get in touch with her. But also business, if you're looking to strategize in your marketing, if you're looking to actually, a lot of people have great business ideas, but they just need structure. This is who you want to get in contact. So her Instagram follow is at Shan Miller LV.
LV, yes.
And that's Shan, 2 N's, SHANN Miller LV. Or how else can they reach you, lovely?
I'm also on Facebook, of course, Shannon Miller, and then on LinkedIn, same thing. All of my, especially my LinkedIn, has like my numbers and my email address. But Instagram is also a really great way.
Awesome.
I'm on there way too much.
Me too, girl. Me too. And of course, my lovely co-host, Miss Carmen. Again, if you are looking to buy a home, sell a home, list a home, if you're into commercial, if you have fourplexes, duplexes, apartment complexes, let's get them, girl. You can get a hold of Miss Carmen at Carmen Smith _realtor. That has all her information. Do you want to add any other information for them to reach you?
Just Facebook, Carmen Smith.
And then, okay. I'm
done here.
That's it. Just get me. Hit me up.
Just
and
hit me
again,
up.
I'm Coach Lorraine Lindsay. Lorraine Lindsay. You can reach me at www.coachlorrainelindsay.com or at Coach Lorraine Lindsay. Also, these ladies, we're going to put some stuff up because they do these really great women networking events, which we didn't talk about that, but for sure I will be posting stuff about that. You want to talk a little bit about that before we go?
Well,
I mean, it's a great event.
It's an amazing event, and it stemmed from what we talked about earlier, and really seeking that tribe and giving a space for women to meet other amazing women. But it's really centered around women that are either business owners, entrepreneurs, really looking to level up their relationships and network. But it's really not, I hate the word networking because it's really not a networking event. It truly is. We have, typically no more than 20 women that sit at a table, and all different industries. We're very particular in who gets to come. So typically, if we don't know somebody, we interview them. We actually do that.
Smart.
We do it. But it's beautiful. And then we bring men in business. I wouldn't be the woman I am without some amazing
And I
men.
love that. I love that the men come in afterwards, which is super awesome.
You should see the stories I could tell. So, and I'll start crying. But it's amazing. So we have men in business that come afterwards, and it's a really beautiful event. We're just super blessed.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, ladies. Thank you, Miss Carmen.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you all
guys.
again for listening to another episode of The Mindsetters. Until next time. Bye.